Hey everybody, this podcast is called The Triumvirate. My name's Aaron, I'm one of your hosts, the other host is Eric, and the third is our microphone. Sometimes we might have a guest on, but basically what we're going to be doing is just talking about whatever the hell we want. Today we're going to be talking about politics and a little bit of the Super Bowl because that just happened yesterday. So here goes.
It's still surrounding us. To say philosophy or politics isn't around us all the time, it's just ignoring human nature, which is we're envious, we're reaching societies, severely political. Whether or not we sever those ties as much as we can, the bohemian lifestyle doesn't last forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
even if you cut all your credit cards and just want to go live on the beach, there's always going to be that one guy that has a better conch shell than you.
Yeah. Well, do you think
envy is going to be everywhere, all the time, just as much as jealousy and other aspects of the human nature?
But aren't theory and philosophy both trying to answer something?
No, they're not answering anything that we don't already know about.
They're not just nature. No, they're putting it down. When people point to a certain author, it's because that guy put a term to an idea, and it was hard to talk about that idea before until a term was applied to it. Like it's like language. Like they're inventing language as they think of things. Like we have. It used to just be this weird, soup of ideas that we had, and we couldn't apply. We couldn't solidify it as a thought until we had the word. And what theorists and philosophers are doing are providing us with the necessary vocabulary to talk about those things.
Yeah, great. I feel what we do now in the 21st century is take that vocabulary that was supposed to be meant by a simple observation or thought, and we just apply it to everything that we could possibly can. Well, and I don't think that's what political theorists should do.
You could be a political theorist and argue this very same thing. You could say you don't need to make blanket statements. So here's my idea on how we can define things and how we can discuss ideas. That would be better. I think that's kind of the point of theory. It doesn't have to just be... but I understand your point. You're saying that they're just trying to apply labels to everything.
Sure.
And labels sometimes it's like, no, I mean, I'm a real person. I'm not this abstract idea that you came up with a long time ago and now you're just applying that to me. Like tomorrow I might wake up and feel differently about it and I'm no longer that label, but you're still gonna have that label for me that you gave me yesterday, and I'll have to fight to change that. It doesn't allow.
Yeah, we label things like society and think society is a group of people who are impervious to change, but societies and individual people are ever changing. So to apply centuries of political theory to that kind of to those kinds of variables is I think is beyond necessary. I don't think there's still the aspect of the human nature being, things I've already said, envious and being jealous and stuff like that, but those things are still applied. Those things will never change. But to say that Weber or Socrates or any kind of philosophy or philosopher, how any of that lifestyle or that kind of thought can be applied to thought now, it's kind of apples and oranges. I mean, people in the 1800s had better proximity with people in the 1920s than people in the 90s have with people now.
Well, your argument it's pretty progressive.
And you talk about people centuries apart who are living the exact same lifestyle, but 30 years ago, we didn't have cell phones. And now we live our lives through a cell phone.
Yeah.
So times have progressively, it's been like a hyper exchange of just information throughout the entire world. And I just don't understand how we can keep applying centuries of old philosophy to these times.
What is that politician's name? He's super old now, but he made a big fuss in the 80s and 90s. Really, really hardline, right-wing guy. He's got a name that you'd immediately recognize. I can't think of it right now. But what he said was, somebody asked him in an interview, what do you think about your stances on things? What if you're going to be on the wrong side of history? Is what the guy asked him. And he said, no, I'm absolutely on the wrong side of history. I know that. But, because things might change. But I would rather be on the side of, or I would rather be wrong with Socrates than correct with Karl Marx. That's what he said. So, I think what you're arguing is that times change. And if you have all this old theory, then
Karl Marx doesn't last forever. It's just we're making it last.
No, but what he was saying was that he wants to. He's a hardcore conservative, and he's saying that he thinks that the original ideas of theorists like Socrates are what have defined all of the paradigms of political theory today. And what you're arguing is essentially correct. I agree with it. You're saying that we can't just always point back to a term that was created by fucking Thales or something and be like, oh, well, that right there, that's me, and that's how we should do things today. It needs to be more fluid. It needs to change. So I agree with that. But it seemed like you started out by saying that you thought theory wasn't really necessary. And I don't think it's necessary. It's necessary to remember what led us to this exact place. The politics that in our history that have involved that kind of political theory and thought that have gotten us to this point in time, but I feel we're hanging on to threads of things that we used to be and not things that we should become. You don't think theory and its application and then its study and trying to adapt it to new things and figuring out what's right and wrong in it is helping us us reach new things?
Its study does help us in the sense that we'll have something to look back upon and look at how policies were made, how government were established, how politics were done in the early 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, but none of that stuff will, I don't want to say be relevant, but it won't help us create that better of a policy in the future. You talk about a huge advancement in technology that's created us pretty much to have this dependability on technology and computers and phones, and philosophy hasn't prepared us for that. Philosophy hasn't prepared us for the polarization of political parties. Philosophy hasn't necessarily prepared us for wars or anything like that. It's helped us study for them. It's helped us learn why things happen. But at the end of the day, we don't know why we can declare war on ISIS. Yeah, they kill Americans. They have killed some Americans. But we're talking about, we went to war in the 50s over genocide. And now we're going to war over a handful of people.
Yeah. Okay, so are you saying, because before I started recording, you had said something about it's not a science. You said philosophy isn't science because it's not really using the scientific method. Even while they might have developed the scientific method, right, they're not using it. And one of the best things about a science is that it can make predictions.
It can make predictions, but the most important thing about a science is that it's consistent.
But what you're saying is, and I agree with this, is philosophy and theory, they don't really make predictions so much.
And they're not necessarily consistent.
They're applying labels to things that have happened before.
Exactly. We look at decisions made by the Supreme Court, decisions made by past presidents. No one could have really predicted the mistakes or the things they could have done. If political theory and thought and philosophy were that good or that concrete or that consistent of a science, we would be able to predict those things.
But can't you have really smart people making extrapolations based on the theory, based on putting labels to things that have happened before and be like, you know what, this could happen?
Sure. But what are the chances of those things actually happening? Extrapolating only gets you so far. We have people that have actually solidified the thought and the theory of global warming, and yet Congress still hasn't taken that theory into consideration for policy change.
Is that a flaw in politics, period, because, I mean, if it was a technocracy...
Let's talk about the politics of a technocracy compared to what we have, which is officials representing us.
Oligarchy.
It's different in the sense that, yeah, we don't have the best people in there, but we have good enough for us. Is that, at the end of the day, is that really what democracy is? Representing what's good enough for us?
I don't think we need representatives anymore. Representation was based on an old system where people had to literally get on horseback and ride it into the next town because not everybody could communicate their ideas, efficiently and quickly and as a large group. So you had these people who were stand-ins for this large amount of people.
So you're saying in this new technological age, we should be able to just tweet out policies?
Or something. I mean, the government could just spend a few $1 billion on creating some sort of new way of voting on not everything. Some things are best left to people who that is their job, and maybe a bureaucracy is necessary in a lot of cases. But I think on certain issues that affect society as a whole, maybe that should be left to society to actually decide. Not. I mean, I understand why there's an electoral college, but sometimes it pisses me off.
It does. I feel the same way. I mean, the electoral college effectively lets us know that our vote isn't really that valid.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
it's like, 60% of the state went this way, but what are they called? The people in the electoral college. Anyway.
Electors. A set of electors?
I know this word. I've talked about this so many times. But they are the ones who end up, at the end of the day, making decisions, and they can be swayed because of politics, because of money, whatever. I think politics are inherently flawed because they can be manipulated in ways that don't just serve an objective truth kind of value. And maybe something like, over the internet or whatever, people would be able to decide what has objective value, but then, a true democracy does ignore the minority in a lot of cases, and minorities often might have the truth of it, because especially if you're manipulating public opinion, which is what that would become. I think that the entire nation would become, like, all politics would be just manipulating public opinion, and all money would be spent on that. But I think a lot of good things could get done once people started getting unhappy about certain things. Yeah,
politics are necessary in order to keep order, but it gets to the point where politics becomes so unsustainable that society rises up and change is implemented. We've seen that with the civil rights movement. We've seen that with, obviously before then, with the abolishment of slavery. We've seen that with women, with equal rights movement. It happens sufficiently and succinctly especially in our United States society.
I don't think we handle revolution very well. I think the people don't handle revolution the way they should. I think our government and I don't know what it is exactly in our society that it's able to perpetuate the system while quashing rebellions, when you have other countries that their entire system of government will change overnight, and that has happened to so many nations just in the 1900s. The United States.
Think about that, the level of change that happens around everywhere else but the United States.
The United States changes, but it's fucking slow.
But inherently, if change is that frequent, isn't that a reflection of how good our government is?
Because it's managed to stick around. Maybe they're good at keeping their own jobs. I mean, right now, we could be living in a completely different world if we would just, every time new things came around that could change things, we allowed them to come to everybody's attention. Instead of just, I don't know, we like to placate the masses in such a way that they're like, well, we don't really need a revolution right now because my life isn't that bad right now because we keep our standard of living
there's so many variables that go into
high.
Protesting and doing everything necessary in order to implement change. People in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, 80s, I don't want to say they didn't have anything to live for, but it seems like the masses of people were young people who graduates from college, people who really wanted to, who just were fed up with congressional play, if that's accurate. Congress or the government does things plays the game of politics so much that inherently when it becomes unbearable for society, especially the young society, they're the ones that protest, they're the ones that occupy, they're the ones that try to implement change. It seems like that'll happen soon enough. Congressional play will be so unbearable that somebody will do something about it, especially with the recent killings of Michael Brown and Eric Garner?
Eric Garner, yeah.
It seems more so than not that this game that's being played politically, and whether it's at the local level, the state level, the federal level, it will...
Those are all bureaucracies, and bureaucracies are, I think, the game just develops because it's a lot of people playing against each other.
Yeah.
If you had the popular... I don't know what... I'm sure there's a lot to be said about how the popular vote could go wrong. But if that were the case, right now, we would... If they took a mass vote of all the American people, we would raise the minimum wage tomorrow. It's like a huge majority, like 70% plus, who want to raise the minimum wage. And, that's rich people and poor people alike. It's not just poor people saying, give me more money. It's everybody saying, that could help. Marijuana legalization.
I mean, sure.
That would happen. And you wouldn't have people part of the bureaucracy coming in and being like, well, it's nice that you guys think that, but we just don't want that today.
Yeah.
We're going to have this go a little bit slower than you'd like.
Yeah, and continuing with that narrative, Congress is seen more as a morally just institution rather than our representatives. It seems like we're electing moms and dads that are looking over us, so we can't push the legalization of pot in D.C. or implement policies that could actually induce some kind of economic growth in our states or in our districts. It's ridiculous to seem to say that that most of Congress is respectable and morally and ethically complete because of all the controversy that surrounds dick pics. I mean, we have
Anthony Weiner.
We have a direct correlation or a direct relationship with Mitch McConnell and cocaine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was his father-in-law or his brother-in-law whose boat was found having several tons, I think, of cocaine or several pounds of cocaine. I mean, there's just things that link Congress to these things that shape us to believe that they're not that morally complete, and we've built them up to be this thing, this entity that our representatives are somehow more morally complete than us. I think, even though all this crazy shit surrounds them all the time.
I think European societies, it's easier for them to recognize that everybody's morally gray. Why do they keep electing fucking Berlusconi? For so long, that guy kept coming back in Italy, and he's a horrible person. He's had sex with underage women. He frequents prostitutes, and he's doing drugs and shit, and he's involved in all those different things. But they keep electing him, and that's how a lot of European politics work. But in America, we have this idea that, like you said, our representatives are supposed to be these moral, icons of good morality, when really, and then as soon as a scandal happens, as the scandal ruins their career rather than just being like, oh, that looks kind of bad. If we would just realize everybody does bad shit, And
Exactly.
if we would realize that we don't need these people representing us anymore because we can represent ourselves.
And we take in mind what religion they are, what kind of family they come from. If we think about it, I mean, let's really put in thought to why there was so much controversy surrounding John Kennedy during his presidential campaign.
Because he was a Catholic.
Because he was a Catholic. It's just ridiculous to note the fact that we base some of our assumptions or some belief that a Catholic president would do worse than today our black president from Hawaii, who's actually half African. I mean, it seems bizarre, but people base that belief. People base those.
Well, they almost elected Mitt Romney, and
who's a Mormon.
He's a Mormon, and that is a very small minority, and that is a very extreme kind of religion.
Yeah, Mormons.
So I think we might be a little bit more open.
To my knowledge, Mormons are actually the only ones that actually believe in polygamy. I mean, I know that several other religions actually practice it, but I think they actually believe.
The Church of the Latter-day Saints has been against polygamy for, I don't know, like half a century now. But there's also the FLDS, the Fundamentalist Church of the Latter-day Saints, and they are still practicing polygamy, and they have whole small towns that are just devoted to just fundamentalists. There's a really good episode of the Vice series on HBO. You getting a Skype call over there?
I am. Sorry. It's my girlfriend. Yeah, just to sum up, I guess, this conversation at Congress, it all goes back to, I guess, our assumptions that we can't govern ourselves.
Yeah.
Or the anxiety we would have, or the being afraid to govern ourselves. At the end of the day, someone distrusts. I mean, we've put in that thought that we can't govern ourselves because we don't trust ourselves to do it. I mean, the Constitution...
I don't think they trust us. I think that's the issue. I think the people who are very wealthy, who have a lot of power, this elite, they don't trust the masses to do the things that they want to be done. And this goes all the way back to... did you know that the Freemasons were formed because... She's trying to get your attention.
She's really trying to get my attention right here.
The Freemasons were formed because there were the occasional really smart, educated person who might have had land, holdings, whatever, in small communities in Europe. I don't know, I guess it was Britain, France, or whatever. And they just decided, hey, let's get together because these other people don't know how to make decisions. Let's make decisions, and we'll actually get things going. And it was so successful. These guys were able to plan out things and get their society up and running. They were able to get people educated and put people in jobs. And that's why, I mean, that was a necessary thing. And when you look at the people who signed the Declaration of Independence, like the vast majority of those guys had roots in Freemasonry because they were in the Masonic lodges, because they thought, hey, whether it's a duty to the people or whether it's to, self-serving, whatever, let's create these societies in such a way that will be efficient to serve our needs. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist about these guys at all. I'm just saying they had a good idea to get things up and running. And now that we're not in a backwards medieval society with no infrastructure, why don't we start why don't we take control of our own destinies? Rather than just letting these people very slowly control our destinies. It's not their fault that they are part of this system and that they're benefiting from it, and we benefit or suffer depending on the
if we were
direction
part
of
our
the
own
wind.
destinies, we'd have 28-year-old congressmen. We'd have college graduates being our representatives. We'd have legalization of pot essentially everywhere in the United States. There would be...
But if it didn't work, we could fix it.
But it would be that total one-day change of a different society that we're inherently scared of doing.
I'm not.
We don't know. Yeah, I'm not. You're not. But the masses are. We're afraid of that change. Because we're afraid what can come from that change.
Maybe the masses think they should be afraid of that change because of conservative values that have been impressed on them for so long. Like, no, let's just go real slow with this. But then, like we were saying, all these other countries, they're capable of making these gigantic changes. And sometimes people suffer and sometimes people benefit.
That's typically due to the lack of ethical, moral thinking that we've been so used to applying to every decision that we make. We look at religion. I think we have a total of maybe 3 politicians who are Muslim and not even actively like Muslim.
Yeah,
they're like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah. So it's we base our decisions on moral and ethical. On a moral and ethical background that hasn't really allowed us to change over time. So we'll keep having these old 73-year-old congressmen who will strike down environmental policies, who will strike down emissions policies, will strike down marijuana policy, just because we will never change. We will never change that thought process of implementing moral and ethical values into our decisions.
Well, we're not being represented appropriately. You said there's only 3 Muslims, and then think about how many Muslims there are in this country. According to one of the most recent, there's quite a few. According to the most recent Pew poll that I can remember, it's like 19% of the United States is non-religious. Like 19%. That's not a huge majority. But if you look at how many people who claim non-religious in Congress, it's like 1 person.
Yeah.
And how is that representative?
I think there's a correlation between how much we've improved technologically, scientifically as a society that have shifted our decisions somehow to question religion more, to not base so much moral or ethical thought into our decisions, but we have a huge population of just of older people, of people who have been raised to think that way, especially here in the South.
Yeah.
To just implement every decision and every aspect of their lives based on, at the end, is this going to look good in front of God?
Yeah.
So
I think our generation is going to be closer to like 50% non-religious.
Yeah, and it shows. It shows with gay marriage. It shows with, obviously, Colorado having their marijuana proposition, being able to sell and use marijuana in Colorado. Changes like that in society, especially now, is showing us that there is a change, even though if it is gradual. I mean, marijuana's been legal in Amsterdam for God knows how long. And the Netherlands is pretty much the business capital of Europe. Changes like that are happening slowly but surely here in the United States, and I think they'll come. It'll be widespread. I just don't think it'll be as quickly as me or you think it will be, or hope it will be, at least.
Well, we talk about marijuana legalization. Just, 5 years ago, I was hanging out with people saying, I don't see it happening. I don't think it's going to be legal in the next few decades. It's probably just, it's a pipe dream. It's a drug. People hate it. And then it just started happening. And then suddenly you have states voting it in, and now it looks like it could sweep the nation, It's happening in the nation's capital right now.
But, it's circulating in the nation's capital. It's not necessarily happening yet. I mean, the nation's capital is unique, as in it doesn't coincide with normal state statutes.
Because it's not a state.
It's not a state. So it'll be difficult to implement, but so I that's all I got. I'd love to talk more about marijuana legalization, but it seems we're just circulating around with the same narrative that it'll never happen because we have 73-year-old congressmen that don't really want it to happen.
Yeah. And we started this talking about theory, philosophy, and politics. I don't think we even answered those questions, but I don't think
those questions will ever be answered, but
it's part of a longer discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we'll be having for fucking years and years, I'm sure.
Years and years.
Yeah. So you watched the Super Bowl?
I watched it. I called it. 3-point spread. They won by 4. Patriots. Tom Brady got his 4th ring. Going back to Boston. Celebrating without his partners.
Are they going to go back? Are they already back in Boston? Or?
Yeah, they should have been back. Fuck, who wants to stay in Arizona? Glendale, Arizona for that
Yeah.
Long? What does Arizona have? The stadium.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, what did you think about the game? Did you think it was as good a Super Bowl as the last one or any of the other?
It was the best Super Bowl I've seen in the last 10 years. I mean, the Steelers-Packers one was pretty memorable, but oh man, just them going back and forth. I mean, you talk about a defense that just people are just so scared of, and it was watching that Broncos game. I would watch dudes get hammered by Cam Chancellor, by Earl Thomas, by Richard Sherman, and it seemed like every tackle that they had, they were putting a little bit more emphasis on the tackling. Like, they'd hit Julian Edelman and just give him like a couple more pushes, like to stay down. Like, hey, bro, stay down.
Edelman took so many hits. His jersey by the end of the game was just green.
He is the new Wes Welker of the New England Patriots. I mean, they just reload every season with new guys. I mean, no names. Julian Edelman was a quarterback at Kent State, and he came back to be one of the best receivers in the Super Bowl. So it's pretty ridiculous how Tom Brady can just get a legion of just no names and Rob Gronkowski and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean they were doing everything pretty efficiently. I thought
it's Tom Brady's efficiency. I think
God, yes,
he can throw to anybody and make them a star receiver, and then those guys can go to another team and just not put up the same numbers.
No, they'll go to like Peyton Manning and
who's that? I think
Wes Welker's somewhere in Denver right now, thinking like that bitch Julian Edelman is sleeping in my bed right now.
Yeah, you know? I mean Tom Brady had what was it? The most completions of a quarterback in the Super Bowl. He had
a lot of completions, man. And
it was like 36 for 48 or something like that.
He also passed Joe Montana. I mean, people put a lot of emphasis of him passing Joe Montana. I still don't think he was as good of a touchdown quarterback as Joe Montana, because Joe Montana passed for 11 touchdowns in 4 Super Bowls. Now, Tom Brady tied that and eventually surpassed that
in 6. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's nice and all. And I give, Tom Brady all the credit. He should be known as the best ever because he's been to 6 and won 4. He has the same amount of rings as Joe, as Terry Bradshaw, but essentially he's been more of an X factor on his team. You talk about the years Randy Moss played. They didn't win whenever Randy Moss was there. They won with Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, and
can he be blamed for
the other two?
For
the
losses?
No.
I don't think so.
Because they're just astounding catches by David Tyree and another one by Mario Manningham they're just ridiculous plays. I mean, I really thought it was going to end on that ridiculous play last night with Jermaine Kearse catching that fucking whatever the hell that was.
I thought that game was over 4 different times.
And
it's it's done. 2 minutes left.
My stomach sank whenever I saw that, and then I was filled with elation as soon as that interception was caught afterwards. Why?
So is Tom Brady.
Because I wanted the Super Bowl to end on something like that.
Yeah, something just like wacky.
Yeah,
I think that's what Al Michaels said. He was like, the wackiest Super Bowl of all time.
It was great, man.
It was so entertaining.
It was so entertaining. And Brady's going back. He's probably making babies right now with Giselle.
Hell yeah.
He's the happiest man in the world. Why? Because the next one, he's just putting up tallies. He's just running up the score next to where he goes to.
What is he going to do? How old is Tom Brady?
He's 36, 37, something like that. 37.
He probably has plenty of years left in him if he wants to do more, but I feel like he's accomplished so much. He could just go out on top.
He could. And you know what? I'd give him like maybe another 5 years, but he'll hang it up probably within those 5 years.
Yeah.
Just because he doesn't really need to do anything else. He's already put his mark on being the best ever. And he's got a smoking wife. He's probably just going to move to Brazil, be with her. Or take like some kind of ambassador's gig with UNICEF like everybody else does.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the Patriots. I'm not either. I'm not a fan. I don't know about him personally. I don't know.
The Brady Six?
I don't know what Tom Brady's politics are or what kind of a guy he is, but I've just never followed him or thought much about him. I just always knew, yeah, the Patriots, they're fucking scary, whatever. And I feel like I don't really care so much about the Seahawks either.
Oh man, the Seahawks. I loathe the Seahawks.
You loathe the Seahawks. See,
not just as a 49ers fan, but as a fan of teams without douchebags.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have my, I look at Colin Kaepernick and I'll be like, yeah, but you're still wearing those stupid beats on your neck.
Yeah.
You're at a press conference, just take them off, Or I'll look at certain things other athletes do, and just, pick apart what or why they're acting that way. And usually there's some kind of justification. I don't really see that with the Seahawks. I just see them being douchebags because they want to be douchebags.
Yeah.
Like Richard Sherman didn't have a bad day, but he just came in talking smack. And yesterday, man, the memes that were just of his face.
Just the reactions.
Yeah, just the reactions of his face.
I mean, on that interception, man, he was like, it starts out with...
I thought he was going to cry.
It starts out with just being like elation, yeah, and then just like a split second later, it's just devastation.
Yep.
That was
Somebody
crazy.
died.
Yeah. But man, that hit.
And it seems like, I feel like an asshole, but I was happy when I saw him make that face. I was laughing.
A lot of people don't like the guy.
They don't like the guy because he talks a lot of stuff. Darrelle Revis won a Super Bowl and did not have to be that big of a jackass. His playing says it all. A lot of people could say he was a jackass because he went over to Tampa Bay, didn't really do anything on the left, signed another 1-year contract, and somehow he continues to have this kind of leverage over people. And with his Super Bowl win, he's got some leverage with the Patriots. They're going to re-sign him, I would assume. But it's those, and people. Those Seahawks before the game started, they put a lot of people on blast, saying, a lot of people think Tom Brady is this short-haired, white-collar guy that just goes in there and does his job. It's like, no, he talks a lot of shit whenever he's under center. He likes to talk a lot of shit before the games. He's a competitor. He's not. And then Earl Thomas called him a smart aleck. Like,
did you hear what Bill Belichick said in the post-game interview? They had him up on the stage and they asked him. I think the question was something along the lines of, "Were you nervous? What did you think? Were you scared that you weren't going to win this?" And he was like, "Not as scared as we were against Baltimore." Like he just dismisses it like, it's not that big a deal. Like, they're a cocky team.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't really throw people under the bus.
Yeah,
that was them taking a good shot at Tom Brady when they didn't really need to. You're coming to another Super Bowl right after one where you just demolished Peyton Manning, who has been compared to Tom Brady ever since they both got out of college.
Yeah.
Ever since Brady won his first Super Bowl, they've made that comparison. So the Patriots had a lot on their plate to begin with. I don't like the fact that the Seahawks just keep talking shit up to the day.
What is the comparison between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning? Because I feel Peyton Manning he's calling plays at the line. He's changing things. He's controlling the offense completely. And Tom Brady, he's
sits back in the cut.
He's following the plays. Like, isn't Belichick calling plays for the Patriots?
Well, Brady makes a lot of plays happen as well. I mean, people neglect the fact that Drew Brees does the same thing in New Orleans, man. I mean, these guys are professional quarterbacks, all pro, future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You know, they're not going back every time and looking at the clipboard.
I guess they don't really have to audible a lot against the Seahawks because the Seahawks were using the same defensive structure every time they went to the line. Like
exactly.
The play that they called was the play that's going to work. Like, they didn't have to, like, right before the snap, change their whole
What I liked
play.
about Brady is that he knew who his main receivers were, but he peppered in a little Shane Vereen. He peppered in a little Danny Amendola just to confuse the D-backs and make sure that they were going to keep going up and down the field.
Talking about Tom Brady, what do you think about, he threw those 2 interceptions in the beginning, but I think that first interception that Jeremy Lane
Tyler guy. He's from Tyler.
He's from Tyler?
He's from Tyler, yeah.
He came back just on his return and just
broke his arm. It was
his wrist. Did you see the picture?
His wrist.
It was a 90-degree break.
It was disgusting.
Terrible.
Oh.
So they lose that guy, right?
Yeah.
Do you think Tom Brady exploited that? Do you think he passed to the area? I don't know. It was mostly man coverage that the Seahawks were.
So you're thinking he did it as a strategy?
No. I'm not saying Brady was like, I'm gonna throw an interception to this guy so he can get his arm broken. I think they just
No. You think he threw an interception that way to make sure I can't throw that way for the next play?
No, I don't think he was prescient to the fact that Jeremy Lane was going to break his fucking arm.
No,
I think after that happened, he was like, oh, now that guy's not on the field anymore, I'm going to look to who would have been, you know, which one of my receivers was going to be guarded by Jeremy Lane, and there's a mismatch there. And I'm going to throw to the guy, and maybe, was that Edelman?
Edelman, yeah, Julian. No, the guy that was supposed to be guarding.
Who was on Edelman most of the game?
The guy that was on Edelman most of the game would have been either Thomas or Cam, which those are safeties. And Edelman's been used more as a slot guy, kind of that Wes Welker type, but he could go off of the flank, and that's what they were kind of implementing towards the end. Gronkowski had a big play, that nice fade that ended up being a touchdown. I mean, I saw that. The first thing I thought of it was like, what? 6 points, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was up in the air for like 2 seconds, and I thought those were 6 points. That's like that Dez Bryant fade, where you just see him. You see Dez Bryant through his athletic ability of being one of the best receivers in the game catch that, but I thought Rob Gronkowski is so huge and his hands are so big. It's gonna be a catch. He's gonna catch this, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a great play, and I think he was testing out the waters more than anything whenever he threw it to Jeremy Lane. I mean, he couldn't have predicted that he was going to demolish his arm after that.
But then he was able to. I think Brady was able to exploit that.
Yeah, he was able to exploit that, and I don't think. I think maybe Manning last year was a little too hesitant to throw that. I mean, Sherman pretty much before the game started that week said he throws a lot of ducks. You know, he uses his slot guys a lot more than anything else. He throws a lot of ducks. It's going to be easy to pick him off.
He was not throwing downfield very much at all.
No, not downfield at all.
Which is what started the Seattle offense, because they couldn't get anything going in that first quarter. Nobody could get anything going in that first quarter.
Dude.
And he didn't have a completion until
Russell Wilson didn't have a completion until like the second quarter, like late in the second quarter.
Yeah. And then he starts throwing these lobs downfield. And there were some really big... Okay, they put Tom Brady down lower than he's ever been against another team.
In the Super Bowl?
Yeah, in the Super Bowl, there was a greater deficit than he's ever had to come back against, and he was able to do it.
I think it was just 10 points. They were down like 10 points.
Yeah, it was like 10 points, but it's always been decided by like 4 points or something like that.
Yeah,
These Patriots.
Each one that he's won, it's always been he takes his team downfield, and Vinatieri. Well, for the first two at least, and Vinatieri kicks the field goal. That's the game. But it's always been Tom Brady takes the team down the field. I think people like to neglect the fact that Tom Brady's been the X factor when it comes to Bill Belichick's career, because if Bill Belichick would have never had Brady, they don't talk about Belichick being one of the greatest coaches of all time.
You don't think Belichick would have been? You think if he hadn't had Tom Brady as his quarterback, you don't think he would have been anywhere near his winning?
Never. No.
Well, he wouldn't have stuck with the Patriots for so long if the Patriots hadn't had Tom Brady.
Well, they had Drew Bledsoe, and Drew Bledsoe
in the first year?
First 2, I think.
2 years of Belichick.
Yeah.
Patriots.
Bledsoe, by the way, wow, goes to the Patriots. All pro with the Patriots, get injured, replaced by Tom Brady. Goes to the Cowboys, all pro, gets injured, replaced by Romo. That dude's got issues right now.
His career, man.
That dude's got serious issues right now. That he has serious demons that he has to deal with. But
what do you think about the last 3 minutes of that game? That was just crazy. That catch. Who was that? What was his name? Who caught it?
Jermaine Kearse.
On his back.
That was after. I think that was with a minute 30 remaining, or maybe
I thought it was
less
right
than
at 2 minutes.
No, 2:02 is when Brady made that throw to Edelman to go up by 4 points.
Okay.
Then their team went down the field.
They drove down the field fast.
I mean, that throw to Kearse.
I had called it right after that. I was like, oh, nope, they're up. Looks like it's over now. Because it was 28-24, right? At that moment. It was like, I don't think they're going to do it in 2 minutes. I think Patriots are going to stop them. And then they just tore it up.
It would have been one of the best drives of the Super Bowl. Just like their last drive in the NFC Championship against the Packers was one of the best drives in the NFC Championship. I mean, it was just ridiculous. They had luck on their side. Who makes a catch like that? How does Russell Wilson convert on a 2-point conversion in the NFC Championship? That throw, it's ridiculous. But I'm so happy that it ended on a ridiculous note, like an interception right after that ridiculous catch.
Yeah, because that was an emotional roller coaster for all those people,
especially Brady.
Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was the most devastated.
Inside, I feel every Seahawk was crying.
Oh yeah,
everyone.
A lot of them were. Russell Wilson cried 6 different times in that game. He cried during the national anthem.
Yep.
He's just he's a feely kind of guy.
He's a feely kind of guy. Overall, it was a great Super Bowl. I'm happy Brady has his 4th ring.
Do you think anything?
Joe Montana.
Do you think anything different would have happened had there not been that encroachment? It was encroachment, right? Or it was neutral zone infraction. That right at the very end, when Brady was going to kneel, but he couldn't kneel because he was standing in the end zone, it would have been a safety. Then they would have had 18 seconds left. They would have to kick it back, and then they could have driven down the field again. Played the clock just right and got a field goal and won by 1 point. That could have happened, except whatever that. I was number 81. I can't remember what his name is.
Yeah, it was encroachment.
Encroachment.
It was.
Or do you think it was probably?
Hey,
it was all.
They've got adrenaline going through their veins right now. That guy was just ready to make a play.
Yeah,
you saw his arms hovering around, and bam, that was it.
It was over. As soon as he stepped across, though, they got that 5-yard penalty, and nailed it, and it was over. It was.
Those guys just couldn't handle the fact that they lost on that kind of a play. And I think that's right after that play, right after that 5-yard penalty, they got into that brawl. Gronkowski ended up taking a couple hits.
That was a brutal fight, man.
It was pretty serious, man.
It was not very dignified.
No, you talk about a championship game, they're going to do whatever the hell they can and win. I feel that's been the whole MO of the Seahawks. We're going to do whatever. They're the most penalized team in the league.
Yeah.
We're going to do whatever we can to win. So if that means hurt you and get a flag, we'll give you the 5 yards. But next time not to come near me, So I'm gonna give you a little bit more. And the funny thing is that they had the most injured players on the team yesterday. Jeremy Lane left with a broken whatever, and then the other guy, I want to say his name was Wright, left with a concussion.
Yeah.
Earl Thomas was playing with an injured shoulder, I think. Sherman with injured elbow. Chancellor injured knee.
They're a tough bunch of guys.
They're tough, but it takes more than toughness to win a Super Bowl, I guess. I mean, they were able to do it last year just because I think Peyton was a little bit more deterred than he thought he was to begin with, just because he's had that. I mean, it was more of a big deal for Peyton to get his second than it was for Tom to get his fourth, because for Tom it would have been going up with the greats, and for Peyton it was essentially getting to his younger brother's record of 2 Super Bowls.
I cannot believe that Eli has more Super Bowls.
Not only that, Eli is 2-0.
Yeah.
Against Tom Brady in Super Bowls.
Man. I can't stand Eli Manning. Maybe it's just because I'm a Cowboys fan, and every time we play them, weird shit happens. Just like every time we play the Redskins, weird shit happens.
Weird shit happens. Colt McCoy wins.
Yeah, fuck!
Colt McCoy.
That was not a fun game, because Colt McCoy's little brother, Case McCoy, knocked out my high school in the semifinals of the state, of the playoffs. Like, we were going to go to state championship.
So we're bringing back old stuff now?
This is old stuff, man. I have a...
You got a grudge against the McCoys.
I have a grudge against the McCoys, man. And Colt McCoy did that to the Cowboys. But the Super Bowl, back to the Super Bowl, it was a fun fucking game.
Fun fucking game.
I was very happy to have watched it.
I won $50. Did you win anything?
You won $50?
Yeah.
I told somebody that I was going to bet $20 that the Patriots were going to win. And then
$20, that's pretty pedestrian. Man.
Just $20.
That's pretty pedestrian.
I didn't know anybody who wanted to take a big bet, you know.
I was taking prop bets. I was trying to see if Katy Perry was going to take her skirt off.
Oh, could have happened. That halftime show was just as terrible as all other halftime shows. Yep.
It was dull.
Could have put it on mute and just watched it.
It would have been the same thing. I could have been reading the subtitles. Probably would have been more attractive.
Everybody who doesn't give a damn about football enjoys these halftime shows, and they like
the commercials more than anything.
The commercials.
I saw the commercials yesterday, and they were god awful.
I don't want to be the Super Bowl is such a big advertisement time, and I just
it's the second most watched thing in the world.
My stance is that even if it is the funniest or the most tear jerking, pulling on your heartstrings commercial, doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, that commercial is trying to sell me a product, and I don't want to be. I don't like salespeople, and I don't like ad campaigns.
The funny thing is that I watch all these commercials. At the end of the day, I don't buy shit.
Yeah.
I don't really buy shit. I mean, I look at these Doritos commercials, watch that dude with the baby, and
I don't buy Doritos.
I don't buy Doritos. Doritos taste like shit to me.
Yeah, and Mountain Dew.
Oh my god, Mountain Dew. Who wants to piss out lightning? I don't.
But you do consume Budweiser.
I do.
This is not a sponsorship for Budweiser. Fuck Budweiser. Fuck all these companies that we're naming. Just wanted to say that.
We do drink alcohol during these things, though.
That does happen. Full disclosure.
We like to unwind.
We are completely hammered right now. There's no.
It's okay.
Trace of sobriety.
It's okay. But yeah, the whole show, the whole lights and ponies, or I guess it wasn't a pony, it was a fucking Power Ranger lion thing, whatever.
Oh, the sharks and everything people are enjoying so much on the internet, but that just looked really cheap. Like, they threw that together at the last moment.
Yeah, they were like, what can we do? Let's put these caricature
Halloween costumes out there
so they can,
But they had a pretty cool, light effects thing with that stage, but...
Did you watch last year's?
Yeah, I'm
Bruno
sure.
Mars and the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yeah.
That was fucking sick.
They didn't... There's too much...
I'm just a fan of the Chili Peppers.
I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers, man, but there's this problem with the Super Bowls that they have, more talented entertainers that come on to, sing segments of the main headliner's song.
So it'll be Bruno Mars.
Was it John Legend that came on to sing,
No, it was Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz.
Huge Lenny Kravitz.
He came on to sing for 20 seconds of
Katy Perry's song.
Yeah, I Kissed a Girl or whatever. who cares about Katy Perry that's watching the Super Bowl other than the wives or the girl? Okay.
But then Missy Elliott came out.
Missy Elliott with her, I haven't heard Missy Elliott in like 10 years.
I didn't even know she was still alive. Yeah. She lost a lot of weight. Good for her.
Yeah. She looks like she got out of rehab recently.
She doesn't look good, but she lost a lot of weight. So.
But it's good that she's playing at the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
But sure. Katy Perry, man.
If it would have been like Lenny Kravitz and Katy Perry, like Lenny Kravitz singing some of this stuff, like Are You Gonna Go My Way, or...
I think people would have enjoyed that more.
Yeah, they would.
I think all of the beer drinking dudes in the audience would have enjoyed it more than Katy Perry.
I all I could picture was that dude in Arizona looking like the Marlboro Man and just like not wanting this, like just under his breath singing, okay, you know?
Do like, you ever feel like a plastic bag? I only know that because of a recent movie that involved that line. All right, man, you got anything else to say about the Super Bowl?
Pretty much it, man. It was a great podcast.
It was a fun weekend we had. And,
fun weekend. Got super drunk.
Yes,
you want to talk about your weekend? Do you want to talk about what happened this weekend?
Yeah. So on Friday, we got together to record a podcast.
We talked about the Super Bowl. We talked about predictions.
This guy I'm sitting across from right now, I only know through class. And we've done a few more podcasts before in the past. And he's like, come over here to this place with all these people who you don't know.
Exactly. But you handled yourself very well. I mean, your skepticism and cynical behavior was not anything out of the ordinary for me. Surprised my friends for the first, 5 minutes. But then they were like, it's just a scrawnier, whiter version of you. So it's all right. We had a nice time. Saw some girls. Talked to some girls. Weren't very interesting. So then we just started talking and trashed. How long did we stay up that night? 4?
It was really late.
It was really late.
And there was half the group were insisting on everybody going hunting.
We did not, because I don't trust my friends with guns.
And I woke up that morning because these assholes decided that 8 a.m. was an appropriate time
to go eat breakfast.
To go eat breakfast after a bender like that. And I don't even typically eat breakfast.
That's just what we do in our 20s. We get trashed, and then the next
you guys
day
are all in your very late 20s, though, right?
I'm 23.
So yeah, pretty late.
23.
I'm 22. You're in the advanced age.
I'm in the advanced age.
Right
My
now.
liver's gone through more paroxysms than you would think of. But
I don't know what those are, but it's debatable.
Yeah. And it was a good weekend. The next day, where do we eat? We ate at some little diner. I think it's The Diner.
It's called The Diner.
It's called The Diner.
Shout out to The Diner.
Shout out to The Diner.
Unless it's a chain, in which case.
Good pancakes. Blueberry pancakes.
Had an omelet. It was a pretty good omelet.
Yeah. And what happened after that? We just kind of hung out. Kind of got through the hangover. Or I guess tried to.
I did not get through that hangover, man.
No,
it didn't hit me fully until about 3 p.m.
It was horrible, man.
We went out and got coffee. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to make it through this day. I'm going to drink this coffee, and I'm just going to go home, and I'm going to...
be a productive member of society.
Yeah, no, I went home and laid down in bed.
And passed out.
And passed the fuck... I woke up at, 5 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah,
I kept waking up from the nap and being like, oh, no, I'm going to go back to sleep. Because my head was pounding. I was taking ibuprofen and shit. And then this guy tells me, hey, we're going to do it again tonight. And I'm like, okay. Then...
we semi-did. We drank a lot.
I didn't end up going back over there, but I did end up drinking 3 bottles of wine and staying up till 7 a.m. 6 to 7 a.m.
Did you have company?
I did have company.
What is it? Was it a lady of some sorts?
It was a lady of some sorts.
It was a lady of some sorts.
Yeah.
You want to go through detail? What were you wearing? Did you have your whole getup?
What was I wearing?
Did you have a Che Guevara t-shirt? Is she into that kind of stuff?
I always have a Che Guevara t-shirt on. Even if it's under the other t-shirt, their Che Guevara is underneath. I don't remember what the fuck I was wearing.
Let's talk about your style. How did you go on this date? Take a hoodie?
No. I actually, I wore a button shirt.
It has one button.
A single button.
Single button.
And it's at the bottom. It's not actually, it's not at the neck. It's a button up, but it only buttons up to the belly button.
And easy access.
And I had 4 beanies on.
Right.
That's just what I do.
Just overlapping each other all the way down to the neck.
And I had my, my trademark Ray-Bans on, but I had also sunglasses on over
the Ray-Bans.
The Ray-Bans. And
what kind of sunglasses? Aviators?
I don't remember.
No, they're Wayfarers. You're a Wayfarer kind of guy.
I probably. I don't remember what they were. I don't really.
Let's talk about your gear.
Focus on
details. Vans? Do you have your Vans on?
I always got my Vans on, man. But they look like sneakers. Oh, I feel bad about that. Wait. I'm gonna erase that from the podcast. I don't want anybody to hear that I said those words.
About what?
It's a reference, don't worry about it. But yeah, Vans. 2 pairs of Vans.
Oh, on top of each other?
Yeah. And
the big clunky skateboarding one's over. Did you take your skateboard on the date?
I took
longboard, bro. It's called a longboard.
My longboard.
It's called a longboard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Get that right. Get that right. I've been longboarding for around 24 years. It's
but only had a longboard for the last 5 months.
Yeah. It's been a labor of love.
Yeah, I understand, man. It's hard longboard, man.
You know what was a labor of love?
It takes skill to longboard without the actual longboard.
I manage it, though.
Yeah,
it takes skill, but once you get it down, you can figure it out. I think more people should get into it.
That is well, my friend.
Wait, what did you end up doing for the rest of that Saturday night?
I just went to go fuck myself, pretty much.
Do you do the tuck, or do you have like an implement?
Well, I meant that metaphorically. I just went to fuck myself. None of my friends wanted to hang out, but if I could, literally, hey, if I'm drunk enough,
you'd sit on your balls and the rest.
That sounds like it would hurt, so maybe not.
To each his own.
No, Saturday. Let's talk about Saturday. All right, so here's what happened.
This guy didn't call me till 9:30. That's why I ended up making plans and leaving elsewhere, man. I thought he was done.
I'm a shitty friend.
He's a really bad guy.
I called you.
I was already on the road.
Yeah.
On the way to lady friend's house.
Where did we go? We came back here to Currents Restaurant. Shout out to Currents Restaurant here in Tyler. Good French restaurant. Had a few beers. Went to Breakers. Had a few more beers.
Oh, you went to Breakers without me.
Yeah.
I like that place. Shout out to Breakers. This is one of my favorite places in town for some reason.
I'm not the biggest fan. It's small,
and it doesn't get crazy, but it's super chill. If you just want to show up on a Wednesday night and be depressed.
I feel like more dudes with beards and trucker hats show up there than anything. So
there's a lot of lumber sexuals.
The atmosphere is not optimal for my kind of taste. Don't get me wrong. I'm from California. I love California seafood. Seems more douchebaggy, though.
There's not enough people in Breakers saying bro for you to really let loose.
Bro. I feel like there's too many people saying bro.
Too many people saying bro?
Yeah.
What is the
or
bro?
Man.
What's
I think they say man.
Is man really something that you count, though?
Man.
Man's just like part of English at this point, I feel like.
Is it, though?
I don't know, man.
See what you did there.
It was clever, man.
It was subtle.
I think well, what's the bro threshold? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The bro, look, this is the bro threshold. First hangout, maybe you buy me 3 beers. Bro, I appreciate the 3rd beer.
None of my friends buy me beers when I hang out with them, man. It's just not something that
maybe
happens.
You should start rethinking about the friends you have.
I'm taking applications.
Are you?
Yeah.
I mean...
You need like 3 references, though, and they can't be professors or family members or anybody with the same last name as you.
See, that kind of makes things difficult.
Because you don't know anybody other than that,
I don't know anybody anymore. But the bro threshold. Let's see. After 3 or 4 hangs, bro. But the first night after 3 beers, bro. Do you understand?
Okay.
So you got to be just like actively contributing for one night to the point where I'm like, I recognize it.
So you have to earn it.
Thanks. Yeah, you got to earn the bro.
I got it.
Or else it's like, dude. I'll just call you dude, like, or man. You know, what's up, man?
Dude's a pretty generic thing.
But I feel everybody at Breaker chooses bro. All the time.
Ironically or non-ironically?
I feel like they say it with nobody there. They just say, bro.
Bro. Have you seen my checkered shirt? No, I'm wearing flannel. Or can flannel be checkered?
I just got this new razor. Oh, it's super,
I'm not using it, but...
super intense.
Dude, those guys and their beards.
Yeah,
I can't grow a beard. I can grow a beard. I just choose not to grow a beard. I keep it for myself.
My best friend has a beard, and I can't tell you how much I fantasize about having a beard.
Do you ever touch his beard? Do you ever, like, just come up and when he least expects it, just...
He doesn't really appreciate that.
Run your fingers through it.
I've stopped doing it because he doesn't really appreciate it.
Because it's got a different kind of texture than you expect.
Yeah, it's a little red. So it's like exotic.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway. Let's wrap this up.
So that's our thoughts on Super Bowl. What's our thoughts on, political
things,
philosophy, theory, and decision making, the future. So, yeah, pretty good time.
I'm Eric.
Hey, I'm Aaron. Please subscribe to this channel because I think we're just going to keep posting these on this YouTube channel. So yeah.
Cool.
All right. Y'all have a good one.